Hello everyone. So in this video going to talk about the stem cells, their types, their origin and their potency. So let's start. So stem cells, this is the definition. The stem cells are undifferentiated biological cells that can differentiate into specialized cells and can also divide to produce more stem cells. That shows self-renewal. So stem cells are those cells that can self-renew, renew and they could form numerous different kind of cells. So stem cells in themselves are undifferentiated. That means they have no specific functions. So stem cells have no function in itself, no function, no specific function. But their main thing that they do is to they divide and form, they divide to form more stem cells. Stem cells they divide to form more stem cells, and they could differentiate to form numerous type of stem cells, to form numerous type of cells like ectoderm, endoderm. So these are the cells that could form any kind of cell. So this is the definition, right? So if these are the stem cells, as you can see, these are the stem cells. So they can form muscles, they can form blood cells, they can form neurons, they can form cardiac cells, they can form livers, they can form intestinal cells, all kind of ectodermal, endodermal and many kind of original ectodermal, mesodermal or endodermal original cells or tissues. All kind of cell could be formed by stem cells. Now properties of stem cells. What are the properties of stem cells? First is these are unspecialized cells with no specific function. So they have no specific function, right? Um, they are found in stem cell niches. They are self-renewable. That is the first thing, that the stem cells undergo mitosis or division, mitosis, to form more stem cells, right? More stem cells. They are self-renewable. Then third is differentiation is the process in which stem cells give rise to specialized cells. Now if differentiation of the stem cell occurs, it could differentiate it could differentiate to form muscle cells, gut cells, blood cells. It could form any kind of cell by differentiation. So that is the third. The fourth is specific set of signals are responsible for the promotion of differentiation to specific cell type. So if there is a signal either autonomous or paracrine signal or endocrine signal, any kind of autocrine signal or paracrine signal. So because of that signal, either it can form a muscle. If there is a different kind of signal, one could form muscle, signal 2 of a different paracrine activator could make the cell form the gut, or a third kind of signal could make it a blood progenitor cell. So specific set of signals are responsible for the promotion of differentiation to specific cell types. So specific signals give rise to specific cell type differentiation. Now classification. So this is the classification of stem cell based on of origin. On the base of origin, it could be embryonic, adult, fetal, embryonic stem cell, or fetal stem cell, embryonic stem cell, adult stem cell, right? And on the based on potential or potency, the stem cell could be totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, unipotent, right? Let's see these in detail. So adult stem cells, based on the origin, the stem cell could be on the basis of origin. The stem cell is adult stem cell, could be adult stem cell. These are undifferentiated cells found in specific tissues or organs. So these adult stem cells are found in specific tissue or organ in adults, right? They could self-renew. Of course, every stem cell can self-renew themselves, and they could differentiate to form the major specialized cell type of the organ. They only generate the cell type in the tissue in which they are found. So all organs or tissue have specific adult stem cells. So in the adult stem cell could only form the cell type or the tissue in which they are found. If the adult stem cell is found in heart, then the stem cell could only divide or differentiate to form heart cells. If these adult stem cells are found in muscles, then these stem cells could only differentiate to form muscle cells, right? Now fetal stem cell, this is another kind of stem cell based on the origin. So fetal stem cells are found in the fetus around 10 week of gestation. After 10 week of gestation period, the fetus that is formed have the fetal stem cells, and the fetal stem cell also tissue specific. That is specific kind of, every tissue has specific kind of fetal stem cell that differentiate into different kind of tissues or organs. Now cord blood stem cells, these are also a kind of stem cells. These are found at the birth in the umbilical, this is wrong, umbilical cord. These cord blood cells are found in umbilical cord and is rich in blood forming stem cells. These stem cells are generally used to cure many kinds of cancer. So the umbilical cord after birth has many kind of these kind of cord blood stem cells, and they can form, you know, lymphoid progenitor cell, could give rise to RBCs, WBCs, lymphocytes, platelets, right? So these have the blood forming stem cells and give rise to all these kind of cells. So here you can see umbilical cord blood stem cell. So they can form the red blood cells, they could form the white blood cells, they could form the platelets. Embryonic stem cell. So the embryonic stem cells are another kind of stem cells. These are found in very early embryo and can give rise to all cell types of the body. So this embryonic stem cell could form any kind of organ or tissue in the body, or could give rise to a whole organism, could give rise to any kind of tissue and organ. Every kind of tissue and organ form a whole organism, right? So they disappear before birth except in testes and ovaries, where they remain as germ cell. So after birth the embryonic stem cell disappear and they only remain in the testes and ovaries as germ cells. The germ cells are embryonic stem cells. So you can see in this picture that this is early human embryo and these are the stem cells. All these are the embryonic stem cells. So if we take out one embryonic stem cell and culture in laboratory, we culture a whole set of embryonic stem cells. They could form all kind of cells like nerve cells, muscle cells, gut cells, whole organs. They could form whole organs and a whole organism, right? So embryonic stem cells could form all kind of organs and tissues. Now induced pluripotent stem cells, what are these? These are stem cells that are genetically reprogrammed to form embryonic stem cells. So these are induced, right? So they are genetically reprogrammed. Genetically reprogrammed. These are genetically reprogrammed to form pluripotent stem cells, to form embryonic stem cell, right? Embryonic stem cell will rise to the whole organism, will give rise to whole organisms and every kind of tissue and organs. And induced pluripotent stem cells are genetically reprogrammed cells that form embryonic stem cells. How It is done by being forced to express genes and factors important for maintaining and defining the property of embryonic cell. So what happens that we take some somatic cells, we take some somatic cell and we force it, we give it some differentiating factors that induces the cell to form embryonic stem cell. By forcing it to express genes and factors, it starts to express genes and factors that are important for maintaining the defining property of embryonic cell. So this cell that was earlier somatic cell now starts to express genes and factors that are expressed by the embryonic stem cell, right? So this somatic cell is now turned into a embryonic stem cell. So these are the induced pluripotent stem cell. So what is the function of induced pluripotent stem cell? So you can see that we take some somatic cells, we took some somatic cells and we make it into induced pluripotent stem cells, right? That is embryonic cells, embryonic stem cells. Right, so they form embryonic stem cells, and we know embryonic stem cells could form bone cells, blood cells, organs, any kind of muscles, and neural cells. So if a human being is sick and he's need, for example, he needs he had hurt himself in an accident and his neurons have been degenerated, so we can take his somatic cell, convert them into induced pluripotent stem cell, and then generate some neural cells and give it to the patient that needs those neural cells. Or same for the muscles. If some of our muscles in our abdomen and our gut is hurt or is we have lost them, so using somatic cells and inducing them to become induced pluripotent stem cell, we could create any kind of organ or blood cell or bone cell or neural cells to give to the patient. So this is the function of induced pluripotent stem cells. These are very important, of course. So let's see this. So adult cells from the individual, we took an introduction of reprogramming factors, we gave them reprogramming factors. So what happens, it is converted into induced pluripotent stem cells, and then we differentiate them, we give them differentiation induction, and they form they could form any kind of muscle cell, ectodermal cell, or any kind of blood cell, right? Whatever we need for the patient we could form using these induced pluripotent stem cells. So these are used in disease modeling, drug development, drug toxicity tests, gene therapy, and cell based therapy. Now, type of stem cells based on potency. We have seen on the basis of origin, now we see type of stem cells based on the potency. So they could be totipotent stem cells, pluripotent stem cells, multipotent stem cells, oligopotent stem cells, and unipotent stem cells. So properties of stem cells. Totipotent. First, totipotent. Totipotent stem cell can differentiate into embryonic and extraembryonic cells. Can construct a complete viable organism. Example, cell produced by fusion of egg and sperm, that is zygote, right? So totipotent cells could form a whole organism, right? It could form a whole organism, could form any kind of organ or tissue and could give rise to a whole organism. So what could it be? It could be a zygote. It could be a zygote. Example of totipotent stem cell is a zygote. The second is pluripotent stem cell. The pluripotent stem cell can differentiate into nearly all cell types, cell derived from any of three germ layers. So pluripotent stem cell could give rise to some of cells like ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. So they can, pluripotent stem cell can give rise to any of these three kind of stem cells. Of course, a ectoderm can then form neural cells or skin cells or hair cells. Endoderm can then form your internal organs, gut, etc. Mesoderm could form the skeletal and muscles and bloods, right? So pluripotent stem cell could also give rise to many kind of cells. Now multipotent stem cells can differentiate into a number of cells, but only those of a close related family of cells. For example, blood progenitor cells, which could give rise to RBCs, WBCs, platelets, etc. So these are multiprotein stem cell. They could only form a group of cell. Like blood progenitor cell is a multiprotein stem cell. It can only form RBCs, platelets, and WBCs. It could not go on and form muscles, right? It could not do that. So this is multipotent stem cells. Then there is oligopotent stem cells. Can differentiate into only a few kind of cells such as lymphoid and myeloid stem cells. Right? They could only form 2 to 3 types of cells. These are oligopotent stem cells. Then there is unipotent. Can produce only one cell type of their own property of self renewal. So unipotent could form only one type of cell itself. Right? So you can see in this picture. This is totipotency, where sperm and ovum are fusing, they form a zygote, embryo is formed, a blastocyst is formed. So these are all totipotent stem cells. They could give rise to a whole organism, right? Now after this, the embryonic stem cell and induced pluripotent stem cell. These are the pluripotent stem cells, and they could give rise to a wide range of cells, right? Like the ectoderm, the mesoderm, the endoderm, right? The ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. The multipotent stem cells are these ectodermal cells. They could give rise to neurons and the brain and skin, etc. Mesodermal are also multipotent stem cells that can give rise to muscles. Endodermal cells could give rise to gut and liver, etc. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.